It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to episode number 1006 of Locked On Raptors for Wednesday, August the 18th. I'm your host, Sean Woodley of RaptorsHQ.com. You can find me on Twitter, as always, at WoodleySean. You can find the show at Locked On Raptors. We can find links to every single episode of the podcast, although I believe the account is suspended right now for reasons unknown. Either way, you can also find the podcast on all your favorite podcast providers, and you can, of course, watch the show on YouTube now. This is our second YouTube episode. It's very cool and fun. If you are not part of the video experience, go and subscribe to the Locked On Raptors YouTube page. It'd be very much appreciated if you took the time to do so. We've already got like nearly 100 subscribers after just one show. Let's keep on adding to that. All right, on today's show, bit of a Summer League recap. We're going to dig into our big takeaways from Summer League as the Raptors finished up last night, beating the Brooklyn Nets 86-72 in kind of a garbage time Summer League game where none of the exciting players played, but we'll still talk about it. And we'll also just kind of get into what we thought of Scottie Barnes, what we thought of Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, the key guys who were quite good throughout most of Summer League. And we are going to also address, it seems like a closing of the book on the Pascal Siakam rumor mill for now, from a piece from Sam Amick that came down on Monday. We'll get to that with today's guest, who is joining us in video form, adding a whole dash of handsome to the broadcast here on YouTube. It is Vivek Jacob. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. My body is still in recovery mode. I played my first league soccer game on Sunday since pretty much I guess Feb or March 2020. And my body is destroyed. It's been a rough go, and I'm hoping, I've been doing everything I can. Got out the roller, sat down in some ice and tried everything I could. It's still trying to get there, and I'm just trying to get ready for the next game on Sunday.
Yeah, a week-long recovery. I am dreading the first time I go back to play pickup basketball, which I'm still not at all comfortable doing, I think, but that's going to be brutal. I'm ready for it. I mean, I guess I've taken up biking during the pandemic, so my cardio isn't like completely embarrassing, but it's still not great. All right, Vivek, we have a lot to get to today. Summer League is over, as we talked about. We've got the game last night. I guess we can talk about if we have any sort of stray thoughts on the game where Dalano Banton was the only real Raptor of note. I mean, he might be the only Raptor of note, period, because that guy rocks. But we'll just sort of do more of a broad breakdown of Summer League, I think, as opposed to looking at last night's game, because none of the key players were even involved for it from the Raptors side of things. So let's just go with our traditional way we start out these shows, Vivek. Let's just go big arching. What is your biggest takeaway from the Raptors in Summer League, their 4-1 Summer League campaign?
I would say that they've, as athletic as Scottie Barnes is, as athletic as Dalano Banton is, they're basketball players first. And I think that's what I really like. A lot of times you see these athletes get drafted and it's like, hey, we'll teach them how to figure out the game and all that type of stuff. But when you watch Scottie Barnes play, it's his natural feel that stands out to me. And that's what excites me. The fact that he's a basketball player first, plus those incredible physical attributes. And then, I'd put Banton obviously in a lower tier, but it excites me that, he understands the game and plays it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, Barnes, I am very, very excited about. I think it's going to be a stupid conversation for, I guess, the rest of time, like the whole Barnes versus Jalen Suggs thing. I think it's totally okay to be very happy for both guys and hope that both guys succeed. That seems like maybe a hot take at this point, but I am just, I guess I was a little bit apprehensive on the night of the draft when they made the pick for Barnes. Again, I'm not a draft expert. I'm not smart compared to front offices. So all of my sort of, skepticism is to be taken with a grain of salt, an enormous grain of salt, perhaps just like a large Himalayan rock salt lamp. But like, I'm glad that we got the sort of proof of concept in 5 games. And look, it's by no means a finished product. Scottie Barnes is going to take a while to become the full version of Scottie Barnes, and there may be a possibility that he doesn't get there just because it's hard to develop and it's hard to add offensive juice to your game. But I think the point you made about him having the feel is the thing that really stands out to me. Like, he just knows how to play basketball. He knows where to be. It's not like one of these guys who comes in who's an athletic marvel who has no idea what sport he's playing. He knows he's playing basketball. He's just doing it in an athletic frame that is horrifying if you're an opposing offensive player. And it's horrifying if you're trying to defend him in transition. And I think, between the defensive utility, which I think is going to be there from day one, it's hard to say that about rookies, but it's hard not to look at the dude and say, oh yeah, he's going to be a problem immediately in the NBA. To have that already as sort of the baseline, and then knowing that he's got the feel, he's got the eagerness to put up shots, even if maybe it's not a successful thing right now all the time, although sometimes he'll throw a turnaround where he moves 9 feet on a single move, and it's like, oh, okay. It is just encouraging to see that the sort of pieces that sort of will end up making a complete, well-rounded player are there. He just hasn't quite figured out how to put them all together just yet. In terms of the offense, we saw a little bit of him with self-creation and looking for others, and again, fits and starts, some good, some bad. What was your overall impression of Scottie Barnes' offensive performance in Summer League?
Individually, I'd say he's pretty raw.
Yeah.
I think what's encouraging is the skeleton of how he can be a productive individual scorer is there. And so, you see those post-ups where you mentioned he turns around and creates that separation. I think there's times where, he gets the ball in the post and he doesn't quite know how to maximize his body yet.
Sure.
Where in terms of creating that separation on a turn. And so I think as opposed to turning and going up straight away, maybe over time he'll learn, hey, turn, get that body into them, then go up, and little things like that, you don't expect a rookie to know, but over time they'll come along, and obviously he has the body for it. So I think there is a pathway to being a solid scorer at the NBA level. And then beyond that, I would say, the playmaking, the vision, it'd be hard to appreciate in Summer League because he didn't necessarily have the players around him that would be on the same page. And I would expect his playmaking to look a lot better when he's playing alongside a Fred VanVleet and an OG Anunoby and a Pascal Siakam. Then to an extent, a Gary Trent Jr., who's just going to be ready to put it up at all times.
Sorry, go ahead. Carry on.
No.
No, I was just going to say, this is maybe like selling it short a little bit, and it's probably not an exact comparison, but it does feel like Scottie Barnes' offense will kind of be like what DeAndre Bembry's was this year, where when he was on his own, kind of asked to like be the lead guy in a lineup, it was like, oh, this is terrible. What are we doing here? But when he was the 5th or 4th guy in a lineup, kind of providing connectivity with, the extra pass, with cuts on the baseline, with, cuts in from the 45, all of that seems like to be like a role that Barnes can fill pretty quickly here. And I guess we should probably talk about sort of what his role is going to be going into this season, because there's obviously a logjam of guys who are 6'9" on the roster. I don't know if that means there's going to be a logjam at any position, because I think the Raptors are saying F you to positions this year, more or less. But where do you figure Barnes slots in from day one? Is it, is he going to be like the replacement starter for Pascal Siakam until he returns from his shoulder injury, then figure it out from there? Do you start him on the bench and have him work with Malachi Flynn and Precious Achiuwa, maybe Goran Dragic, and have sort of a loaded second unit where he can kind of work out some of the kinks against second units of the other team? Like, where do you envision Scottie Barnes slotting in next season or this coming season from day one?
I could see, the Raptors looking at Scottie Barnes and saying, hey, we've got a month or so here where we can maybe accelerate the process.
Sure.
Let's get him in there with the starters, with Freddie and OG and Gary Trent Jr. and Khem Birch, and see what he takes from it. And then we can slide him back to what's probably his natural role for the entirety of the season when Pascal is back and assumes that starting role, and then he's playing those backup minutes behind OG and Pascal.
Sure.
And maybe plays a few minutes in the backcourt as well, trying to get some reps as a lead ball handler as well.
Yeah.
The one thing I would add in terms of the takeaways from Scottie, especially in terms of developing offensively, is the confidence.
Yeah.
You love the confidence that he's not looking at it and saying, "Oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not going to try this."
Yeah.
So he's just going to go out and do what he can. And I think that's what lends toward saying, "Hey, this isn't a player who, is going to be a deer, even if he is a deer in the headlights that first month of the season.
Yeah.
It's not going to bother him in a way that is going to be detrimental to his future."
Yeah, he's going to like stare down the car and dare the car to hit him as opposed to whatever deer usually do in headlights. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. This probably isn't going to happen, but I think there's a world in which Scottie starts the season as the starting four in place of Siakam, does kind of what we saw OG do in his rookie season where, he kind of fits really nicely in the starting five. And then, I don't know, maybe Gary Trent struggles from three or something like that. And then you roll it a starting five of Fred VanVleet, Barnes, OG, Siakam, and Khem Birch, and begin the era of positionless freak basketball, which I think we're all looking forward to. We're going to continue on and dive into some of the other guys from Summer League and what our thoughts were. Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, Freddie Gillespie, I think is probably going to come up here. We'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Sweat Block, who are truly a miracle product for someone like me who is a sweaty guy. I'm sorry to admit it. Maybe it's gross for the podcast, but it's true. But Sweat Block is here. They are here to make it so you don't have to worry about what shirt color you're wearing. I'm wearing a purple shirt right now. This is a dangerous game I'm playing. My Sweat Block shipment has yet to arrive. But yes, I'll be wearing this shirt confidently once Sweat Block does arrive in the form of their Sweat Block antiperspirant wipes. Sweat Block is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed, and the next morning you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat. Guaranteed. I know this will all sound too good to be true, and trust me, I've tried all of the solutions before, but Sweat Block is only need to be used once or twice a week, and you will be kept dry the entire time. No more pitting out, no more picking your shirts based on which one will hide sweat better. If you or someone you love is dealing with excessive sweating, you got to check out Sweat Block. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with the promo code LOCKEDON, or at Amazon or CVS. That is sweatblock.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Today's show is also brought to you by a product that our pal Vivek is probably going to get some use out of if he goes and purchases it. It is Theragun. Don't let the stress of daily life weigh on your body. Whether you're an athlete or someone like me who's not an athlete, or you're a rec soccer player who's feeling very, very sore, Theragun is there for you, and it can help. Theragun is the handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of depth, speed, and power, and it's as quiet as an electric toothbrush, Big V. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good. It gets to the source of pain by releasing tension using Theragun's signature percussive therapy, which goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. The OLED screen and design make you feel like you're holding something from the future. Just go to their site and check it out, and the Theragun app learns from your behaviors and suggests guided routines to make you feel so good in your bones and muscles, I guess is more the thing we're talking about here. Theragun is trusted by 250 professional sports teams like Real Madrid and elite athletes like Paul George, DeAndre Hopkins, Maria Sharapova, and hundreds of thousands of customers. And me, I have a Theragun. It's awesome. It's somewhere kicking around here. It's fantastic. Vivek should get one too. Try Theragun for 30 days starting at only $199. Go to theragun.com/lockedon right now and get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's Theragun.com/lockedon. Theragun.com/lockedon. All right.
I would like a Therabody.
Yeah, Therabody. Sorry, I made a mistake here. The website is Therabody.com. They've changed the handle. It's Therabody.com. So you can go to the website. Maybe you can get yourself a Therabody, Vivek. Let's continue on here. Get back into Summer League stuff. The Raptors, of course, go 4-1. You've got a bunch of other guys we can kind of pick from here in terms of dudes we're interested to talk about. I'll turn it over to you, Big V. Who do you got? Who kind of caught your eye at Summer League in a way that has you excited going into this season, or deeply unexcited? You pick your poison.
In terms of excitement level, I would probably say Dalano Banton.
Yep.
I think it's where I have the max level of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I have a certain level of confidence in knowing what Malachi Flynn is going to be.
Sure.
I have an expectation for Precious Achua, and so when I look at Dalano Banton, it's like, hey, what can this kid be? And you look at the Raptors' history with second round picks. I think he's someone I would look at and say there's a strong feel for the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely aspects of his game that are extremely raw, and we saw him get picked in the backcourt, and struggle a bit with pressure, and so I think that's something he's going to work on at the 905 level, and he'll get those opportunities. But I think over the long term, over the next 2 to 3 years, I'd really like to see, how his game can form, and especially, being sort of that, multifaceted wing player that can also play a guard spot and play up, play down, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
As the Raptors go full on with this experiment, I think he's someone I'm really curious to see develop.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about how the Raptors are going to play like freak basketball this year. The 905 is going to be like the incubator for all of that. And we're going to see all of the even weirder stuff that isn't NBA ready, I think, applied down in the 905. And Banton feels like he's going to be sort of the key subject in all of the experimentation. Like 6'9" dude who can handle. That's like the Raptors' dream at this point, especially because he can't shoot. They also love those guys, and it is going to be fascinating to see how they deploy him because I think there's lots of different ways his development could go. You could really sort of see him move up as some sort of point guard where they give him the ball a ton. Yes, the turnovers are high right now, but for a guy who seems to have the feel for the game that he does, maybe that's something that can be worked on. I don't think you're like raising too many red flags over Summer League turnovers. Guess what? Everybody turns the ball over in Summer League. It's a mad free-for-all. And then, so you've got that idea. But also, if, the shooting never comes along, you could look at him as some sort of playmaking four. He's got the size for that. He was disruptive enough defensively, like on the interior during Summer League, that I think there's something to sort of mine there. It's very much sort of a choose your own adventure type of thing with Dalano Banton. And he's obviously going to have a big role in choosing what adventure it is because he's got the shooting to figure out and he's got the development to undergo. But he's going to be a delight. I would imagine he's going to spend most of the season with 905 unless they get into real point guard trouble. And if Dalano Banton is playing point guard for the Raptors this season, something's either gone horribly wrong or extremely right. I'm not sure what, but I am looking forward to, checking out those 905 games and really just kind of keying in on Banton more than anybody else because he does feel like, a really sort of a gem of their developmental system now, right? Like they haven't had a lot of guys that they've been able to put into the pipeline and kind of develop the last couple of years as they've, sold off picks and things like that to win a championship. But, now that they're sort of replenishing the pipeline, Banton, I think, really sort of skyrockets to the top of the list of guys that I'm excited by, considering Scottie Barnes is not going to be in the G League at all, you would assume. Other guys, I guess we should talk about Freddie Gillespie. We mentioned Precious Achua. I think he's going to be the backup center, and he's going to be quite fun and exciting and dunky in that spot. I think Malachi Flynn showed a lot of really encouraging stuff as well. The 2-point shooting, not great. The 3-point shooting, hilariously fun and cool. I think he would really benefit, if they are able to play him with Dragic in a backcourt in the bench and kind of trade off, and he can work on and off ball. And, you've got the makings of a pretty exciting second unit there. So let's instead pivot to a bad story, and that is Freddie Gillespie, who was very, very bad, basically from start to finish, had a couple of nice defensive flourishes here and there, but after a really nice finish to the season where he was like the answer to the Raptors' prayers, which was just basically a center who could grab a rebound and not get played off the floor immediately, he was really, really disappointing in Summer League. And look, I don't know if it's fair to look at this and say, oh, this is who Freddie Gillespie is, because he has NBA games on his ledger where he very much was better than what we saw in Vegas, but it's still a small sample of NBA minutes, and Summer League can really determine guys' futures here. Where are you at with Freddie Gillespie? Should he be on the roster this coming season? Would you be looking at other big man options if you're the Raptors front office, or do you chalk it up to it's Summer League, it's weird, who really cares?
I'd probably lean towards that last option the most,
sure,
because he definitely comes across as a player who needs to be around really strong players and then just,
sure,
profits off of whether it's attacking the offensive glass or, just being in that dunker spot and being ready. And, even defensively, I think there'll be a significant difference if he's on the court with, say, a Pascal Siakam and a Fred VanVleet and an OG Anunoby, and there's less that he has to be responsible for.
Sure.
And so I think that's where I would put Freddie Gillespie's ceiling at. Ideally, he's that third string big that just provides backup minutes as and when, it's just sort of absolutely required.
Sure.
And so I like the fact that he's a different type of big than everyone else the Raptors has.
Yeah.
I think you just have to have that option available to you, but I don't see him as anything more than that. Do you?
Not really, no. I think the lack of any sort of offensive weapons is going to really limit him. Like, he's not a shooter. He's not a post-up guy. He really is terrible at presenting himself as a role target. Like, you would think with the wingspan, he could just like throw his arm up and be like, oh, right here, throw it for a dunk, but he can't. And, again, that's probably chemistry stuff too, working with new point guards and trying to figure out the chemistry with the guards. But it's just, there doesn't seem to be a lot of offensive utility there. That said, rebounding is important. He does like present a thick body and defensive sort of upside type of guy. And, in the Eastern Conference, where you might come up against a Bam Adebayo or a Joel Embiid, you might just need 6 fouls worth of a guy to just throw out there, right? So I don't think it's like the worst thing to have on the roster. I also don't think it's fair to really judge him entirely based on Summer League, because he did look good in the NBA action, as much as it was garbage time of the season. And maybe you shouldn't believe anything you see in the last month of a season where you're in the lottery. There was enough there to make me think, okay, this guy can like hang in the NBA at some level. He has the elite rebounding skill. That's important. The putbacks, if he can kind of get better with the timing of those and the completion of the putbacks, maybe that's a sort of, Reggie Evans like avenue to being, at least a rotation player at some point, like a deep rotation player.
Reggie Evans basketball in 2021.
Look, man, the Raptors have completely flipped the league on its head. They're going back to positionless ball, but also Reggie Evans, and I don't know, maybe get like a Derek Martin type point guard in there, like no points at all, 2 points, 9 assists, like the classic Derek Martin line. Maybe I just yearn for the late 2000s, early 2010s Raptors. I don't know. I don't do that at all. But yeah, I think Gillespie, it's not like there's options out there where I'm like, oh, they should go and get that guy to replace him, right? The nostalgia of Bismack Biyombo might be kind of fun, but also I think it's kind of been realized that Biyombo is kind of similar in, profile to Gillespie, right? Not much offensive utility, can grab some boards, is a good defender, and that's about it. I don't think you're finding much else on the market. So yeah, I'm fine just kind of riding it out, seeing what happens in preseason, and not getting too carried away with what you saw in Summer League. And if he continues to struggle, then there's not like a lot invested in his future. You could always move on and find some sort of upgrade. But for the vibes that Freddie Gillespie brings, and for what we saw at the back part of last year, I'm not getting too concerned about what we saw in Summer League. Any last parting shots on what we saw in Summer League from anybody here, Big V, before we carry on and get into some Pascal Siakam trade rumor squashing?
Any non-Raptors takes?
Sure, go nuts. What do you got?
Man, Evan Mobley looks like he's absolutely going to be a superstar.
Yeah,
like
seems that way.
He's got everything in his game. I mean, it's like some sort of really incredible cross between Chris Bosh and Kevin Garnett. He's got passing. He's got, he's gonna get the shooting better. He can score inside. Like, yeah, I think he's gonna be incredible. I think the Cavs are gonna be a lot of fun to watch. They might not win a whole lot. Their ceiling might be to compete for that play-in this season. But I think that's a team that I'm definitely gonna watch. I love watching. That backcourt. I mean, we'll see what happens with Sexton and where they kind of stand on him. But Garland, Sexton, I enjoyed watching them in the back half of last season. And then you got Okoro, who's going to develop, and you throw Mobley into the mix now with Jared Allen as the big. I think that team's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah.
And then they're going to get Ben Simmons, and that's going to be fun too. And
no, that'll be the end of the experience.
Yeah. Well, they also have Kevin Love and Ricky Rubio reigniting their partnership from way back in the day, which is a nice story as well. So just run a very, very depressed second unit. Although Ricky Rubio, have a smiley, happy face. He's on have people being happier, so maybe it won't be so depressing. Who's to say? That feels like it for Summer League. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Ish Wainwright in preseason and all that, although Ish Wainwright seems like a lovely guy. I'm rooting for him pretty hard. But we'll put a pin in Summer League for now, and we'll come back to the other side, and we're going to talk about Pascal Siakam trade rumors, baby. And actually why they kind of seem like they've finally been stopped, even though they were dumb from the start. We'll get to that in a sec here. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Built Bar, who are making the best tasting protein bars money can buy. They have 9 amazing flavors in their regular lineup, from coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie. They've got strawberry, orange, cookies and cream. And they also have limited time flavors that pop up on the site from time to time as well. And you can snag those whenever they're there. You can order yourself a mixed box if you don't know what your favorite flavor is, and get 2 of each of the 9 flavors, then decide for yourself which one you like the most. It's going to be mint brownie. I'm sorry to spoil it for you, but it's the best one. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they're also healthy for you too. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all good for you. I believe right now as well, if you go to built.com is the website, there's a flash sale going on right now. You can get a box for $29, but if you use the promo code LOCKED15, you'll get a little extra discount off of that as well. So go to built.com right now. I'm just passing you along the inside information. Noticed it on the site this morning when I was going to buy myself some bars. So go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 at built.com. Today's show is also brought to you by betonline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports action. Baseball season's in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. You've also got sporting news and information for all the other sports. Football's coming up in just a couple of weeks. You've got NBA and NHL futures you can throw your money down on. No shortage of stuff to get into on betonline.ag. Before the next pitch, face-off, kickoff, whatever it is that begins the sporting event that you like the most, go to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest info. Head to the website or use your mobile device today and sign up for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit as well. Means if you sign up, you put in $100, you get $150 to play with. That's a great deal. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON, all one word, at betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Vivek, let's round this thing out and talk about the seemingly dead Pascal Siakam rumors. Sam Amick wrote a piece in The Athletic earlier this week, sort of documenting the ongoing pursuit of good players by the Sacramento Kings and their failure in those pursuits, probably because they don't have the stuff to offer and refuse to offer the things that will get those trades done. And it seems for now that Pascal Siakam's not going anywhere. The reports in there that he doesn't want to be traded. He's happy. He wants to come back to Toronto. This despite all of the discord last year and the concern about his relationship with Nick Nurse, yada, yada, yada. I think we both kind of agree, Vivek, that the Siakam trade rumors were kind of silly from the start. Really seemed like they were coming from outside of the Raptors organization, people who really want Pascal Siakam and were hoping to maybe get him at a low sort of cost of return. That never really felt like it was much of anything. Where are you at with the Pascal stuff? Are you happy to see this sort of confirmation that it was all kind of just noise, or are you still kind of, worried that this might be a thing that pops up down the line?
Well, I think it just shows that Pascal Siakam is a highly coveted player in the league.
Yeah.
And so and
he's good at basketball, as it turns out.
Yeah. And naturally, good teams would want him. The Warriors see him atop that list.
Yeah.
And, maybe the Kings aren't a good team, but I think they see that Siakam is a very talented player that would fill a lot of their holes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the Raptors, there's a lot of holes that he fills that maybe go unnoticed just because, hey, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
And so I think the Raptors are doing the right thing in valuing him as much as they do. And, I feel like things have kind of gone the other way a bit too much in terms of evaluating Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, especially for those who watched the back half of last season, until he picked up that injury, he was great, and the playmaking had come a long way. His scoring had gone up another notch, and I think that's the Pascal I hope to see this season. And especially, for a player like him that thrives off energy and the crowd and all that type of thing, I think being back in Toronto is going to be a real boost for him. And thankfully, it sounds like that will be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it just never really made a lot of sense from any perspective. I think this is sort of a, people who don't watch the Raptors and know what's going on day to day, which, hey, if you listen to Locked On Raptors, you get that local perspective every single day, and you get that across the Locked On network. But
Great plug.
Hey, we're on video now. We got more people to spread the good word to. But, it really felt like it was from people outside of Toronto who were just sort of looking and saying, oh, they drafted Scottie Barnes. He's as tall as Pascal Siakam. That must mean they want to trade Pascal Siakam, without any sort of understanding that there's very clearly a vision here for the Raptors. It is to collect guys of this size and skill set and turn it into some sort of freak Monstars team of some kind down the line in the best case scenario. And it never made sense to just assume that because they drafted a 19-year-old that they were then going to go trade their All-NBA player. It was silly and sort of simplistic, reductive thinking from the beginning. And it really did just feel like, oh, the Warriors have this trade package of poo-poo platter stuff they want to trade for a star. Let's see if we can drum up some interest or something like that by putting this out in some sort of rumor piece or whatever. It just, I think like news literacy was pretty key during this whole Pascal trade rumor thing, and kind of understanding where stuff's coming from and where it's not coming from. And I'm glad that it seems like, things are copacetic, and, the Raptors are happy to go forward with Siakam because he's very good. He's their best player. Like, he became their best player last season. He was better than Kyle Lowry last season by all the sort of advanced metrics, by driving, winning. It's not easy to unseat Kyle Lowry as the best player on the Raptors, and he did it last year. And so I think, like the bubble has become like this sort of outsized thing on his resume that people look at and are like, oh my God, Pascal's terrible. The start to last season didn't really help matters much, but he really kind of rounded into form before COVID and injury kind of derailed things. And I think it's totally reasonable to go in with a really optimistic outlook for Siakam in this season. And look, this season is going to be about testing what this core can do, right? The whole plan here, from what I gather, is, as Bobby Webster said in his press conference a couple days ago, talking about how this feels like 2013-14 again, where it's like, let's just figure out what's here and then go forward from there. If it is to happen that this season that, goes by and they win 30 games and the core of Siakam and Obi Van Vliet looks terrible, then next summer you make some decisions and you start talking about trades, moving on from guys and reforming the future. But that's way premature. We haven't seen what's going to happen this season yet. There's very much the potential for this team to have a 2013-14 style surprise run where maybe they're not amazing or contenders, but they're quite good and entertaining and give you a lot of hope for what's coming next. And it was always just silly for the Raptors to hit the off-ramp with Siakam before seeing what he does with this core going forward. So glad it's over. Just for fun, let's just entertain it one last time. Say the Kings were the trade partner here, Vivek. What would have moved the needle for you in terms of an offer for Siakam? Because there's exactly one player on that roster that I would say, yeah, for sure, do that for Siakam. And I don't think the Kings were even thinking about that or they were never going to go there. But what would have gotten it done for you if you're the Raptors front office and Sacramento comes calling?
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox is someone that I would have been happy to have a conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's probably not yet in that category of the tier one superstar, but he would be along the lines where, he's someone that you potentially see having a higher ceiling, at least offensively, and can be that dynamic point guard who can really lead a team. And so that would be enticing. And beyond that type of player, it would be a superstar. And it would be, a Dame Lillard. It would be, for me, a Bradley Beal. And
still holding on to that dream, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying in terms of the prototype of who I would want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think anything beneath that to me is just not even a starting point for a conversation. Like De'Aaron Fox, okay, let's talk. But anything below that, no, thank you.
Yeah, like Tyrese Halliburton's nice, but I don't think he projects as some sort of star. I mean, he's a very, very good player who I think is going to be like an excellent two guard in the league for a long time, but it's a lot to sort of pin on a guy who just had 1 year in the league. And, it's hard to know where the trajectory is going to go. How complete is he as a player and all that? I do think it's interesting if things don't go well.
I'm not gonna lie, I like Halliburton a lot.
Well, here's the thing: is I think it is interesting if certain things go down this year in like a certain order of operations, like the Raptors struggle, maybe Siakam looks good, but the Raptors as a whole just, don't really kind of figure it out. If the Kings kind of realize, the Mitchell, Halliburton, Fox trio is maybe too much in terms of guards in the back, or we got to balance the roster, I could totally see there being some sort of connection between the Raptors and Kings in a Siakam for either Halliburton or Fox swap next summer, depending on how the development of Halliburton goes and all that. And, the Raptors, I think you could sort of talk themselves into, Fox or Halliburton, like a ball dominant guard who can kind of offset the size, issues with Fred and all that. Like maybe that's something you can say that would work and be a fair sort of swap. But I think it's just too early for either team to entertain that right now. So talk to me in a year if things go horribly for the Raptors and, the core doesn't look like it's going to be kept together. If things go well, it probably means Pascal Siakam's been too good to want to trade. So I think we can leave that there for now. Big V, thank you so much for making your YouTube debut, buddy. Again, it's wonderful to have a famous CBC personality and Toronto Raptors staff writer jumping on the call to be all handsome and good looking and balance out my, morning gruff. But where can people check you out? And do you have anything you want to promote?
Sean, you don't give yourself enough credit. You can follow my work at CBC Sports. We'll have a new North Courts coming up soon, where you might see a similar combo discussing things. And then you can also follow my work at Raptors.com. And beyond that, you can follow me on Twitter at Vivek Jacob.
That must feel really good. You follow my work at Raptors.com. That rocks. Very, very excited for all of your stuff. You already wrote a couple pieces for them, correct? So
correct. Yeah.
Let's go give V all of the love and adoration we can. If you want to give this podcast love and adoration, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can tell a friend, of course, about the podcast. You can subscribe or follow on all your favorite podcast apps. In addition, we'll be back again on Friday, probably a mailbag podcast. The mailbags on the YouTube will be fun because we can actually show the questions on the screen and give people shout outs. That should be a good time. So that'll be Friday. Get your mailbag questions in. You can send them to me on Twitter at WoodleySean, of course. The Twitter handle is just right below me right there. Oh, there. I figured out the spatial thing and how it works. And that's going to do it. We'll talk to you again. There's Vivek's Twitter handle as well as he points to it. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll talk to you again on Friday with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Bye-bye.